sole responsibility of the producer and do not reflect those of Malden Access Television, the City of Malden, or Comcast. MATV welcomes your comments. Call us at 781-321-6400 or email us at access@matv.org.
No, it's turned the opposite way. So even when they flip it, it'll be the opposite numbers. So we won't have a score.
Will it?
We need a score for people. Stand up. We need a score for people.
The score will be counting down the time and substitutions to go on the score sheet.
Score should be on the first side.
The second game.
How do they know if the score is
Oh, you're right. Actually, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. You're right. It is going to be towards us.
Of course.
The winners of the two games today will play tomorrow afternoon.
Beanie, when you get a chance, can you have them turn the scoreboard as much to us as they can? The little score flipper.
Also, at 1:15 is the coaches versus the All-Stars.
And see if the coach scores.
That'll be followed by the three-point contest and the hot shot contest. At this time, we want to introduce the two rosters for the teams that are playing in the first game. First, the lineup for the Kings. Number 23, Michael Steele. Number 34, Sean McFeely. Number 8, Michael Ricketts. Number 12, Bobby Bedard. Number 21, Brian Horton. And now the starting lineup for the Kings. Number 13, Jimmy Cherry. Number 5, Leslie Philippe. Number 4, Roger Hickey. Number 14, Richard Rogers. And number 7, Danny Suda. Head coach of the Kings is Chris Rogers, assisted by Glenn Higgins, Chris Vega, and Danny Gillis. And now the lineup for the Sonics. Number 33, Michael Dominici. Number 5, Sean Chase. Is Kevin here? The starting lineup for the Sonics. Number 24, Joey Carlson. Number 10, Jeff Legentis. Number 14, Michael O'Brien. Number 21, Jake Halloran. And number 7, Michael Lopes Raftery. Head coach is Chuck Rogers, assisted by Gary Rogers.
Good afternoon, basketball fans, and thanks for joining us wherever you may be on a very cold, wet, and dreary Saturday afternoon, but it is St. Patrick's Day, and no better way to celebrate than playoff action from the Ferryway School in Malden. Elias Feldman alongside Jim Foley.
How are you, Elias?
Oh, just fine. Pleasure to be here, and today we'll have the first two games of this playoff series. We'll open up with the Kings. After clinching their first division title in 22 years of MNBL action, the Kings riding an 11-game win streak, coming in at 13-1, and the clear favorites in this matchup against the Sonics team. Coming off a double overtime loss to the Sixers last Sunday, the Sonics clinched that fourth and final playoff spot.
Our starting lineups for the Kings, we have number 5, Leslie Philippe, number 4, Roger Hickey, 14, Richie Rogers, number 13, Jimmy Cherry, and number 7, Danny Suda. For the Sonics, there's number 10, Jeff Legentis, number 24, Jay Carlson, number 7, Michael Lopes Raftery, and number 21, Jake Halloran, and number 14, Mike O'Brien.
And throughout the history of the MNBL, we've seen that the first place team is 16-5 in first round playoff games. So obviously the Kings, the clear favorites in this one, and they obviously have that momentum as well. And tomorrow we will bear witness to the championship game, the 22nd championship game of the MNBL, as we get underway from the Ferryway School in Malden. The Sonics wearing their green jerseys with white trim. The Kings just switched jerseys at center court. They're in white jerseys with purple trim. As Halloran launches from downtown, it's off the mark.
Halloran's one of the leaders of this team, Elias.
And Sherry with a nice putback there, so the Kings off to an early 2-0 lead. Halloran now with the left hand. Elbow jumper a bit long. And Halloran with his own rebound.
He'll take most of the shots for this Sonics team.
And a fourth chance opportunity for Raftery. And finally, Hickey comes down with the loose ball. In their head-to-head matchup this year, the Kings are 2-0 against the Sonics. Early in February, the Kings won a very close overtime ball game against the Sonics and then blew them out the following month in March.
And that's exactly when they started to get hot. They're on a 10-game winning streak ever since that time, and they're just hot as any team right now. The Celtics were in first place for most of the season, but since the Kings defeated the Celtics for the second meeting during the regular season, they took first place and haven't looked back since.
Suda wide open down low.
That was a great cut by Suda. He just couldn't finish. I like them finding the look. With the Kings, they have a lot of big men who can go underneath, and the guards do a great job in finding them when they cut and hang out underneath the basket.
Raftery now on the wing working on Suda, and Raftery fouled as he starts to make a move towards the basket, and he'll go to the line for 2 shots. Check that. The foul was called before the shot, so the Sonics will inbound from underneath their own basket.
Raftery wasn't looking for the pass there. Always got to be heads up at all times.
And the Sonics with a very, very small bench this afternoon. Only 2 players sitting, so they'll go with the 7-man rotation. And it's very clear that an up-tempo game works to the Kings' advantage, with the Sonics having a very slim roster this afternoon.
They'll definitely want to work the half-court offense today, slow it down, not overwork their players, because they're going to have to put a lot of minutes in these starters.
Legentis from the corner, way short on the 3-point attempt. And here comes Suda in the open floor to Sherry. Back to Philippe, who will pull it out and reset the offense.
That was smart by Sherry to not try to force something after he couldn't handle that pass. He settled it down and reset the offense.
Rogers has the ball slapped away from him, and the Kings still maintain possession. Suda can't get the easy look to fall, and the Sonics will try to get on the board this possession.
If there's one shot blocker on this team, it's Rafferty. O'Brien might be a little taller than him, but Rafferty is always around that ball, always getting a hand in the face.
And Raftery came up real big last weekend when the Sonics took on the Sixers. Raftery scored 28 points and really carried that team. He fouled out after the first overtime, and that's when the Sixers really began to pull away in that ball game.
That was definitely the difference maker for them. Rafferty is a baller. He doesn't necessarily take the most shots, but he'll do what he needs to do to help the team. And when he's gone, the Sonics are, low manned enough that if you're down to 6 or 7 players, they all have 7 players today. It's going to be very difficult.
And Halloran with a nice move that time, as the Kings were afraid to touch the ball because of a backcourt violation. Halloran came out of nowhere and had a wide open look at the basket.
What did you expect was going to happen? It was taking forever to go out of bounds. Somebody had to touch it.
So the Sonics up by 2 right now, 4-2 ball game here early on in the first quarter. Suda working on the left wing, guarded by Legentis. And the Sonics playing swarming defense right now, set up in the zone, as Suda with a wide open look from the corner, a bit short, and Raftery comes down with the rebound. The ball out of bounds. The Sonics will maintain possession.
Great hustle there by Philippe, diving for the ball. That's exactly what you need to do come playoff time.
Legentis is off the mark, and Hickey skies for the rebound as he's fouled. And for the Kings, Suda is their clear leader, coming in 16.7 on the season. Steele is their second leading scorer, and the only other Kings player averaging double figures. He's coming in at just under 13 a game. As Philippe runs the point guard right now for the Kings. Hickey makes a move towards the basket. Nice little dish inside. And Suda kisses it off the glass, so tie ball game now, 4 apiece.
Mint and Danny Suda, just a great all-around player on offense and defense. Here you see Suda is able to find the right pass, able to run the floor on the fast break, able to settle the ball down, take the nice shot. You saw him with the open shot. He was able to find it on the corner, get open, avoid his defender. Just a great all-around player, potential MVP candidate.
And we've seen early on that the Sonics have been working very well down low. They've had a number of second chance opportunities off offensive rebounds. So now at the halfway point of the first quarter, 4-4, very low scoring ball game as O'Brien doesn't get the jumper to fall. Philippe now in the open court, unable to finish, and he caught the ball out of bounds. So the Sonics will now take it back the other way.
That's surprising to me. 2 blown fast breaks by the Kings so far in this ball game. First, Jimmy Cherry couldn't handle his own pass, and now Philippe can't put up the wide open layup.
Legentis with a nice turnaround move. Nice pass inside that time by Raftery. Good court vision. And the Sonics up by 2 here early on in this contest. And as you mentioned, wide open layups cannot be missed, especially in the playoffs. Every possession really counts. Steele not able to finish on the second chance try, and Raftery ahead to Legentis, intercepted by Cherry.
There's no reason to throw a downtown pass when it's 1-on-2 break. You don't have the numbers. There's no reason for that.
And that's really not the Sonics game. They're not a very good transition team. The Sonics play best when they're set up in that half-court game and have Halloran at the point guard position distributing the ball. When they get into open floor, that's when the Sonics are most vulnerable and make a lot of mistakes. Halloran with the mid-range jumper rattles out.
I think Halloran's about 0 for 3 so far, at least.
Halloran's had a couple wide open looks at the basket, but just not able to get it to fall. Philippe handling the ball at the top of the key for the Kings, recently named to the All-Star team.
Great job by the Kings there, finding the man down low, the big man. You saw Steele right there, setting his position, getting the pass and turning, putting it right up.
O'Brien's fouled as he went up for a short jumper, and he'll go to the line for 2. As O'Brien misses on the first attempt, he has been relatively consistent from the free throw stripe this season at 55%.
That's been a big part of how he's been able to lead the team in scoring with just under 16 a game. There's a lot of free throw shooting in this MNBL, and if you can make your free throws, that'll definitely boost your average.
Suda now in transition, dishes the steal underneath the basket, and he's fouled. It's a nice pump fake that time by Steele. It'll send him to the line for two.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He was very patient, waited for the defenders to go up, and then he went up himself. He was undermanned 2-1. Probably wasn't going to make the shot if he took it the first time. Between Steele and Rogers, I have a feeling they're going to go back and forth being the man underneath for the Kings today. They've actually switched out for each other. Rogers started the game. Steele has replaced him since then. That's going to be their big man.
Halloran with another mid-range jumper doesn't go, and another second chance opportunity not taken advantage of by the Sonics.
Now you see both Rogers and Steele in the game. It'll be interesting to see which man takes control underneath.
So the Kings working from left to right in front of us is a little dribble drive that time by Suda. Steele comes up with a loose ball. And now 2-on-2 on the fast break.
That fast break didn't work because they had their man with the ball in the middle. They need to have the man on the outside to draw a defender to the outside so you can have another man available and open.
So 1 minute to play here in this opening quarter. Ball game tied at 7 apiece. And a very up-tempo game thus far. This is definitely playing into the Kings' hands, who set up in a 2-3 zone right now. Legentis somehow slipped in behind that zone, but he double-dribbled right after he caught that pass.
They must have oiled up the basketball today, Elias. We've seen a lot of slippering around with this basketball today between Jimmy Cherry earlier and now Legentis.
Ryan Horton that time, his first points of this ball game, and that puts the Kings on top by 2.
Horton hasn't necessarily been a superstar for this Kings team, so I expect the Sonics to not necessarily guard him that well, and if he can find an open shot, then they'll hopefully distribute it to him. The Kings are, when they want to be, a very sharing team. Now at times, especially earlier in the season, they were more of an ego-driven team, but I think they've definitely become more of, a comradeship.
With 5 seconds to play in the quarter. Steele. And a foul is called. With seconds remaining in the quarter, and Philippe with a nice basket in the open court on that last possession. The Kings up by 4. So 13 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. The Kings will settle down and try to take the last shot of this opening quarter. 5 on the clock. Philippe from the free throw line off the mark. The tip in doesn't go. The basket is waved off, and after 1 quarter here at the opening quarter here at the Fairway School in Malden, 11-7. The Kings on top, and the Sonics hanging around in a very low-scoring affair thus far.
Well, that's one thing I want to point out, especially on this happy St. Patrick's Day, our Sonics team in green, of course.
Very observant, Jim.
Yes, yes. And who else but to have a redhead on that Sonics team in McFarland, number 12. I hope to see him get some good action in this game today. Very, very applicable. Elias, the Kings have put in a lot of hard work in practice lately. They've been hustling, putting in a lot of grunt work. As I mentioned, they've become more of a team. They lost pretty bad last year in the championship to Bullets. You know they have that chip on their shoulder, wanting to finish the job this year around. I expect great things out of this team this game and most likely in the next. However, the Sonics have been quietly consistent themselves, and they can compete with any team if they really want to show up.
The Sonics, however, riding a 2-game losing streak, trying to right the ship here in the first round of the playoffs, and a very short playoffs. So it's absolutely essential that you come out early and play strong basketball throughout, because it's one game and then you're in the championship with a win. Horton from the corner. Very unorthodox left-handed shot is off the mark, and here comes Halloran.
Legentis was lucky that he didn't make that shot. He should have picked up the man when he had no one else to guard.
And Legentis puts back Halloran's miss.
That's one way to make up for it.
So the Sonics close to within 2. Suda was pushed as he started to drive towards the basket. It was not called a shooting foul. The foul called on Bryan, and the Kings will inbound from underneath their own basket. So 2 early fouls on O'Brien. We'll see if he stays in the game.
That's unfortunate for O'Brien, Elias. He's been a quiet success for this Sonics team. He's a great low-post player, probably one of the best in the league. They can ill afford to have him not play.
Halloran with the dribble drive, takes it himself and knocks it down from about 10 feet. And Halloran's first points of this ball game, and it's going to be absolutely essential for them that Halloran gets going sometime soon. He was the Sonics' leading scorer this season. And it's really a trend with the Sonics. When Halloran shows up, when he's on his game and when he's knocking down those mid-range jumpers, they play well as a team. So we're all tied up at 11 here early on in the second quarter. From the Ferryway School in Malden, Elias Feldman alongside Jim Foley. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure. It's been a great season thus far, Elias, I gotta say. You and me, worked out pretty well.
It's been a lot of fun, and now we're watching the 4 best teams in the league do battle, and there's nothing better than calling a basketball game.
I can't think of anything.
Of course, we have Nestor Dudley, the man, working the camera for this ball game.
Always comes through in the clutch. Host of Around the Rim every week.
As
Had
Raptor.
a great show last week with the Madness Show. Go ahead.
Suda can't finish the wide open look. And now Suda called in for the reach-in foul. You mentioned ATR. We'll have the season finale, I guess you could say, next Thursday with the championship team. All the players will be on the show for a half-hour special, and that will round out this season of ATR.
It'll be a great show. All talk, all yapping, the best it can be. With Nestor's pretty face on the screen the entire time. If you need to take yourself a commercial break for yourself, it's understandable. You know, maybe get a drink, a snack.
Rogers is off the mark, and here comes Domenici.
Once again, they had their fast break man right in the middle, and they had nowhere to go with it.
Halloran from the elbow, off the front of the rim, and Horton skies for the rebound.
I'm surprised to see the Kings at such a slow pace to start this game, Elias.
The Kings do play well when they're in the open floor, as Ricketts nowhere near the rim on that jump shot attempt. And with the Kings, a lot of their starters out of the lineup right now, the Sonics will have to take advantage as Halloran tries to go glass.
There you go, McFarland. I told you he's stepping it up. There you go, redhead.
Sean McFeely checks into the game for the Kings. Ricketts will take a seat. At the halfway point of this second quarter,
Dominici, that was a nice steal right there. Unfortunately, he couldn't put it up. He's a quick guy with good hands. He'll be able to do that every once in a while.
Legent is wide open on the break.
Neither team has been able to come through with the layups.
A lot of wide open layups missed early on in this one. As Hickey, the big body driving the lane, as Domenici hits the floor, and a foul called on the Sonics.
They're disappointed with the call. They wanted to charge, but he didn't go right between the shoulders. It was on the side of the body. That makes it a blocking foul.
So the Sonics in the penalty, a 1-and-1 from the line for Hickey. He can't hit the front end, but the Kings will get the ball back, knocked out of bounds by Halloran.
Well, it seems one of the reasons why the Kings are slowing it down is because neither Philippe or Cherry is in the game right now, and they're two speediest players.
Rogers with the putback that time, and Raftery now bringing the ball up the left wing. Between the legs, crossover dribble. Casts away from downtown, way short. And a very quick shot that time by Raftery. No passes on that half-court possession, and the Sonics really need to start moving the ball better. That's really the best way to break down any sort of zone defense, is with ball movement. As this game is knotted at 13 apiece. 3 minutes to play here in the first half. Legentis from downtown.
Great shot. Jeff Legentis, 9 threes coming into the game this season.
So Hickey, another big point guard in this league. As Horton comes up with a loose ball, Legentis, as he tries to pick his pocket, called with a reach-in foul. As Danny Suda checks back into the game for the Kings. And off the missed free throw, Halloran from coast to coast. The pull-up jumper way short.
Well, short, indeed. Dominici keeps doing that. He's able to find the loose ball, puts it back up, and just doesn't finish.
As the Kings call a timeout, 16-13, the Sonics up by 3. And if you're a Kings fan, you have to be on the edge of your seat, a bit nervous at this point. Everyone coming in expected the Kings to run away with this one, coming in at 13-1, riding an 11-game win streak, flying high. There could be a little bit of a lag effect for the Kings. They haven't played in 2 weeks. They didn't play in the final weekend of this season.
Well, you say they're going to run away with it. That's literally and figuratively. They need to be able to run with the ball, not just go up with the score, but run back and forth. Get the Sonics team tired. And their big, fast guys have just not been running. They haven't been in the game. I don't know what the Kings' game plan is right now, but it needs to change. Hands on the hips, looking down. Kings don't look too happy right now, and when things go down for them, they can lose their self-esteem quick. They got to avoid that.
And after finishing the season with 2 losses, the Sonics had to be questioning their ability coming into this game, but now with a 3-point advantage almost at the half, the Sonics have to be flying high and really believing in themselves. Legentis has really been carrying the team thus far.
Well, they knew they haven't been playing their best ball yet, and playoff time is the best time to do it.
As Horton converts the free throw on the front end of the 1-and-1.
Sonics have the box out there. They were lucky they came up with it.
Legentis again from long range, off the front rim this time. And Chase comes up with the loose ball. So the Sonics will reset. And Raftery's really been the creator for them thus far. He's been running the point, and he's been the main distributor. Raftery a little hesitant to take the open shot as Legentis off the mark again. Steele down low, a power move up with the right hand, and he finishes strong.
The Sonics were doing the best they could to prevent a man from penetrating, but Steele is so good that he's able to cut through everything and just find that open lane. And Kings are just as able to see him and find him at the exact right time.
The loose ball fell into Chase's hands. He looked a little surprised and shuffled his feet. And with 2 minutes to play here in the first half, we're all tied up at 16 apiece. And this has the makings of being a great ball game. We have a good one brewing.
Indeed, it's been a game of defense thus far, Elias. 16 apiece only. These teams are known for scoring a lot more than that.
Steele not able to clean up the Suda miss, and Legentis wide open.
Yep, the Kings coming into the game at 57.4 points a game, and the Sonics at 54.3.
So 1 minute to play in the first half. As the Sonics push the other way, Legentis goes baseline, finds Raftery at the free throw line. The little runner in the lane way short. And Raftery followed his own miss, and he'll go to the line for two.
I've noticed this game thus far, the Sonics have been taking a lot of running shots, a lot of stop and pops, and they've been doing a lot better when they're settling themselves and taking a shot when they have time to set their feet. So I think they should adjust to more of those type of shots, and they'll be able to hit them.
Raftery this season, a very good free throw shooter, sitting right around that 60% mark all season long.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to send him to the line. He's fifth best in the league.
And Raftery, one of three Sonics players averaging in double figures. Halloran and O'Brien, the other two, as we're under 1 minute to play here in the opening half. Rogers finds Steele down low, who can't finish, and Sherry comes up with a loose ball. The foul called on Dominici and Suda to the line. Suda knocks down both free throws. And that time, Sherry came running in to try to steal the ball. And the Sonics turned it over. A heads-up play that time by Sherry, and the Kings will have an opportunity to tie or take the lead before the half. 20 seconds to play. Suda goes baseline. Steele down low, stripped away by Raftery. Legentis with a point-blank miss, and we've seen him missed a number of wide open layups on the fast break.
He was moving backwards on that. He should have come around to the weak side and put it up.
As the buzzer sounds, a big surprise, a very good first half from the Ferryway School in Malden. The Sonics up by 2, 20-18. And we'll be back with second half action in just a minute. Back here at the Ferryway School in Malden, where the Kings, surprisingly down by 2, the Kings got off to an early lead. The Sonics stormed back and now lead 20-18. And Jim, the Kings really have not got into their transition game. That's obviously their strength. Suda in the open floor is where they can make a lot of things happen. They're obviously going to have to do something different in the second half.
They're going at a snail's pace. They're going at the Sonics' pace. They're playing exactly how the Sonics want them to. They're not finding the right shot. They're quicker than the Sonics team. They can outrun them. They have more depth where they can sub guys when they start to get tired. The Kings need to start stepping it up from the waist down.
The Sonics, on the other hand, playing with a short bench. I mean, they have to be happy to be up 2 right now. They missed a lot of open layups in the open floor. And, I mean, they could very well be up by a dozen at this point.
Well, even despite Legentis' couple missed layups, he still has 11 points, leading all scorers. So that hasn't necessarily been the problem. What I've noticed has been more of a problem has been Halloran missing his shots. He's been trying the leaners, trying the floaters. He needs to step up and, set his feet and get the shot, because he's a great shooter when he can set himself.
We have a good one brewing from the Ferryway School in Malden. The Sonics up by 2. Stick around on a beautiful St. Patrick's Day.
Welcome back to the Malden Neighborhood Basketball League, Game 1 of the 2007 playoffs. Kings, the number 1 seed, Sonics, the number 4. We start the second half with the Sonics, 2-point lead, 20-18. The Kings will start this half with the ball.
And the second game of this Saturday doubleheader promises to be just as good. The Celtics 12-2 going up against third-seeded Sixers at 10-5.
Suda, who only had 4 points in the game, dishes it off in the first half, that is. He gets the ball back here. You know he wants to shoot and get some more points on the board for himself and his team. Philippe fighting and fighting again until he finally gets the putback to go. It's now tied up at 20. Great steal over to Philippe again, goes weak side, can't finish. The second chance is good. That's number 34, McFeely.
The Kings obviously with a big change at the half. They've immediately picked up a full court press.
Here they come. Kings once again pushing it. No foul call, they wanted it. Sonics will run right back. Halloran short. Here comes Suda, penetrating through everyone. Philippe puts it up, he's fouled. Philippe will get to the line for 2 points, for 2 shots.
And Danny Suda, a guy we've talked about all season long. The Rookie of the Year honors his first year in this league. He's been the Kings MVP the past 2 seasons, and this year fighting for the overall league MVP award. Only 4 points in the first half. He knows that he has to come out immediately, make his presence felt, and put up some numbers.
Philippe, on the other hand, has not been putting up numbers himself. He missed the first free throw, made the second. Gives the Kings a 3-point lead here as we're just a couple minutes into this third quarter.
And the first 2 minutes of the third quarter have played into the Kings' hand, a much more up-tempo style of ball we talked about earlier.
Lopes Rafferty nearly loses it. Instead, gets it inside, and Michael O'Brien puts it up from the left side.
And that's the one risk you take when you pick up a full court pressure, is that you'll swarm the ball and leave one man open under the basket.
Suda loses the ball for a second, gets it right back. 3-second violation on the Kings. That's a turnover. We haven't seen too many turnovers, actually, Elias, this ball game. As we see back-to-back, of course.
It's been a fairly well-played game, and I mean, both teams have point guards that are very capable of handling and distributing the ball. But naturally, as the Kings pick up a full-court press, I'm sure we will see many more turnovers here in the second half.
Easy over the back foul on McFeely. Sonics able to throw it over the entire press and get the easy layup. McFarland had the 2 points.
The Sonics as well switched up their zone defense. Now they're playing a 3-2 with 3 big men on the top. 2 Sonics players playing under the basket.
Philippe travels. Turns it back over to the Sonics. They try the same exact thing. Once again, Legentis can't handle the ball down low. Suda takes it to the basket himself. Seems to have hurt his right leg as he got the 2 points, and clock will stop here on an injury timeout.
And
he fell right on his right knee, Elias.
He took the ball the length of the floor, and there was a lot of contact while he went up for that shot. The ball rattled around and went down, but Suda looked like he hit his right knee on the floor coming down, and as I said, he came bone to bone with a number of Sonics defenders. And Suda appears to be all right. And right as he went down, Kings fans had to hold their breath for just a moment. Suda will take a breather. I'm sure he'll be back into the game in just a minute.
That'll be a big crush if it plays out otherwise. Steele ahead to Cherry. He's fouled. Kings with the 1-point lead, 25-24, halfway through this third quarter. Jim Foley alongside Elias Feldman. First round of the 2007 MNBL playoffs, Kings Sonics. Ball goes all over the place. Kings eventually pick it up, but Rogers can't finish. Here come the Sonics. Lopes Rafferty, spinning shot, fouled on the elbow. He'll shoot 2.
And the Sonics hanging right in this ball game, but I mean, history is definitely against them. Only one fourth-place team has won a championship. That was a 1988 squad, excuse me. And we mentioned earlier that in first-round playoff games, the first-place team is 16-5 in the 21-year history of the MNBL.
In this season of March Madness, we definitely have seen our share of upsets, and this is only a 1-point game. It can be just like that.
And the madness here in the MNBL coincides with the madness elsewhere. Of course, the NCAA tournament in full swing right now. The field cut to 32 games and will be cut to 16 by the end of this weekend.
Philippe at the top of the key, running the offense. Steele distributes. Lopes Rafferty ahead of everyone. Pulls up with the shot, no good. Steele with the rebound.
Raftery that time did not have numbers. It would have been wise for him to pull it back out and try to reset a play.
Philippe to the basket for 2.
Philippe that time with a nice little teardrop. Philippe,
Nice
a very quick player.
There's Halloran once again with his running shot, not getting it to fall.
And on that last shot attempt by the Sonics, the Kings bench calling for a traveling violation. There's a very fine line between a jump stop and a travel. A jump stop, you have to come down both feet firmly on the floor simultaneously. It looked like that time Halloran may have shuffled his feet a bit, and the refs missed a call.
Ricketts loses the ball. Sonics can tie it up here with the shot. They take the 3 and try to take the lead, but no good. Steele, another rebound. He's been all over the boards today.
And that time Raftery not in rhythm. You could tell he was tempted by the 3, and finally when the Kings didn't come out to guard him, he took the shot.
And that time Steele on the offensive end does the same thing. Quick pass, quick shot. Sonics can't get to him in time. O'Brien loses the ball out of bounds. He'll stay with the Sonics. About 2 minutes left to go in this third quarter. Kings up 29-25. Ricketts ahead of everybody. Can't finish as Rafferty disrupts him. Back and forth we go. Sherry from inside the free throw line, good.
And the Sonics very tempted to play the Kings style of basketball. That up and down, up-tempo rhythm. But the Sonics really not that kind of team.
Not at all, and it's showing on the scoreboard here as the Kings have jumped to a 6-point lead, their biggest of the game.
So Halloran picks up his 4th personal foul, and a big blow that time for the Sonics, who have to empty their bench a little bit.
And silly fouls some of them have been, just reaching behind, no chance of stealing the ball. Just hacking the hand, that's an easy call. Ricketts penetrates, puts it up, can't get it to fall. Rogers back out to Cherry. Ricketts swings it around the horn, and Bedard can't hit. Foul against the Sonics. Kings retain possession. Lopes Rafferty picks up his 2nd. Suda's coming back in the game. How about that, Elias?
After he hit his knee on the floor, it looked like for a moment it could be a serious injury, but back in the game after a quick breather. Rogers, 40% from the stripe on the season, converts on 1 of 2.
Ooh, Kings commit the foul just before the Sonics commit a 10-second penalty. They lucked out there.
And the Kings, with their swarming defense, have come out here in the second half with a head of steam. And it's quite apparent that the Kings want this much, much more right now. They know what's at stake. They know this is the first time in 21 years they've won the division title.
Suda left side, gets it to go. Danny Suda back in this ballgame with a force. Has not lost 1 step since the injury.
And now the Kings very slowly beginning to pull away, up by 9.
There he is with the steal. Suda once again to the left side, once again gets it to roll. "11-point game, Kings lead." As Lopes Rafferty cuts it back to 9.
And Raftery silenced the crowd a little bit with that little runner in the lane, and the Sonics really needed that. They keep the deficit in single digits.
Couple seconds left to go in the quarter. Rogers ends the quarter with a miss. 3 quarters down, Kings lead the Sonics 36-27. Elias, the Kings have switched the pace of this game right around to their favor.
And the Kings coaching staff obviously changed the game plan at the half. They came out immediately at the outset of the third quarter playing a full court press. And the Sonics have had an array of turnovers thus far. Seemed like right when the Kings started to put that pressure on the Sonics backcourt, they just lost their composure, started throwing a lot of long football-type passes that were picked off.
The Kings have, of course, stepped up their defense as well, establishing the full court press, getting a couple turnovers that way. They've improved in every facet of the game thus far this quarter.
And the Sonics, the Sonics were up 2 at the half, and now they just seem stunned, down by 9 with 1 quarter to play.
And you had to know that the number 1 seed wouldn't go down that easily.
And the matchup that everyone's wanted, everyone has expected, has been the Kings versus Celtics in the championship game, going 1-1 during the regular season in their head-to-head matchup.
Jimmy Sherry ahead to Danny Suda. Suda goes up against 3 Sonics players and can't get it to go. He'll get it right back, put up the turnaround. Sonics get the ball and will run here. Legentis takes the shot at the free throw line, can't hit. And the Kings travel.
The Sonics have settled for a lot of jump shots here in the third quarter. I don't remember the last time they had an open look underneath the basket. Their points in the paint have really been near to none.
There's Jake Halloran finally getting some points.
Halloran playing with 4 fouls. He's going to have to be very cautious on the defensive end.
There's a foul there. Let's see who it's on. Looks to be Legentis.
And if you're the Kings right now, you want to go right at Halloran. You want to try to draw that 5th personal foul on him, get him out of the game.
And Halloran actually came into the play late right there, and I thought he almost picked up the foul himself. He's got to be cautious.
And for Halloran, who hasn't had a very good game thus far, he is a guy that creates for the Sonics. He does have a lot of quickness, and he has the ability to get a lot of open looks at the basket, so it would be very key for the Kings to get him out of the game with foul trouble.
Suda went up for the shot, came down with the ball, was called for the travel. Philippe with the pick. Finds Suda from beyond the arc. Here comes Halloran, cutting through everybody. He wants to take it himself. Instead, he'll dish it off. And Chase is fouled. Smart play by Halloran to dish it off at the end there. Looked like he was going to take it coast to coast.
Halloran took it just far enough. He drew 3 Kings defenders and then dumped it under the basket to Chase. And Chase, a guy we haven't really seen much of today.
Chase from the line this season, 12 of 32, just under 38%.
And Chase, a very tall, lanky player, a lot of potential in this league. A guy that can shoot. He's solid from the perimeter as he converts on both free throw attempts.
Makes it a 5-point game, Kings lead.
And I'm surprised the Sonics haven't picked up a full court press of their own at all today, really. They've been content to sit back in that 2-3 zone.
Jolly Roger. Ahead to Cherry. Gets it back. Takes the awkward 3-ball. Can't hit. Suda with the offensive rebound, and he's hacked.
And a very unorthodox shot from Hickey, the left-handed sharpshooter.
But that's how he shoots. Sometimes it goes down. He does average about 4 points a game. Michael Steele on the sideline right now. It appears he has hit his eye. We may have missed that. He's putting some ice on it. Also on the back of his neck. He's probably tired from running up and down the court this second half.
Well, we've seen a very physical game, a lot of banging down low. And if Halloran's going to turn it on, this is the time to do it, down by 6 with only 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Jake Halloran, that's his 4th foul, Elias. One more and he's done.
And the big surprise for me, really, is coming off that 28-point performance last Sunday. Raptor really has not asserted himself all that much today. Very few shot attempts.
Well, you know why? It's because Halloran's in the game. Halloran didn't show up last time, and Rafferty was able to take over. Rafferty is a very selfless player, will distribute the ball, and he'll give up the shot to Halloran. He maybe should be able to establish, maybe next year when he's a year older, be able to step it up and take shots of his own. He's a great talent, shouldn't go to waste. Jimmy Cherry at the line. This is the front end of a 1-and-1.
And the Kings will really have a chance to put this game out of reach from the free throw line in the last 5 minutes of this contest, as the Sonics are in the bonus. And it often comes down to that. What team shoots better from the free throw line? And we've seen throughout this season, there's really not one team that has consistently shot lights out from the stripe.
Yeah, the Kings are pretty even with the Sonics, both at around 57, 56%.
And it's very different shooting a free throw in practice and shooting a free throw in a pressure-packed playoff game.
Actually, I take that back. That was certain players. As far as free throw percentage for teams, Kings are 3rd with around 47%. Sonics are 5th. Actually, Kings are 3rd with 46.7%. Sonics are 4th with just under 44%. Sherry, just inside the arc, decides to give it back up to Philippe. Philippe wants to do something with it. He carries.
And give the Sonics credit. They are hanging around. They haven't given up yet, only down by 4.
4 points, exactly. Let's see if Lopes Rafferty will step it up here. Well, there he gives it up to Halloran. And Halloran takes the shot. Hits from the baseline. 2-point game. Kings lead.
So we've seen Halloran knock down a couple jumpers here in the fourth quarter.
Great second pass. Jolly Roger can't hit. Lopes Rafferty ahead of everyone. Left side off the backboard, no good. Out of bounds, stays Sonic's way.
And beautiful ball rotation that time by the Kings, and Hickey just blew the wide open point blank look at the basket.
Well, he was a little bit underneath the basket too, so he had to lean back. That might have disrupted his shot.
Not able to convert on the very unselfish play by his Kings teammates.
Rejected by Rogers. Jump ball. First jump ball we've seen, I believe, since the opening tip-off. In this league, we usually see a lot more.
And although some players are in foul trouble, both teams really have their 5 players out on the floor that they want to rely on. The Kings with their starting 5 out there right now. The Sonics with 4 of their 5, McFarland the one exception.
Stolen by Legentis. Loses it right back to Cherry. Steele loses it again. Back and forth we go. Halloran is fouled. He'll shoot 2 and can tie the game if he makes both of them.
But that's a good foul by Sherry in the open floor. The Sonics had numbers. Halloran had Legentis wide open under the basket. And that's a situation where Sherry should have fouled Halloran before the shot attempt, just to give his defense a chance to reset. But regardless, Halloran at the line with a chance to tie this ball game up.
Halloran misses the front end of the 1-and-1, and it remains a 2-point game with just about 2 minutes to go in this ball game. Finds the cutter. Rogers hits. And Halloran comes right back. Rogers over to Cherry, rejected. Offensive rebound. Can't keep his feet down, and it's turned over to the Sonics. And as we hit the 2-minute mark, there's a timeout here with the Kings on top by 2, 40-38.
So we have the makings of a fantastic final 2 minutes here.
A little agitation on the Kings side. Certainly don't want to see that. Meanwhile, on the Sonics bench, they're staying nice and calm.
And only a few minutes ago, the Kings were up by 9. Now they're clinging to a 2-point advantage, and I was a little surprised that the Kings didn't try to slow that tempo down when they opened up that somewhat healthy advantage. The Kings stuck to that up and down tempo. I thought they could have burned a little bit of clock, set up a half-court game. But now that's a moot point, and we have 2 minutes of hardcore basketball. Who wants it more? And who wants to advance to that championship game will be decided right here.
Lead pass to Legentis results in a jump ball. He'll go up with the shorter Philippe. Kings win the tip. Danny Suda will set his team's offense. Kings have numbers underneath if they hurry. Steele puts it up. Rolls all over the place, but in. Lead pass. Legentis all alone. Looked like it was partially rejected by Suda. At least disrupted, so he couldn't hit. Sonics very disappointed with the lack of a foul call. There was a call.
It didn't look like there was very much contact underneath, but it looks like Legentis got the benefit of the doubt.
All right. I heard the whistle call. I thought it went out of bounds. Well, 2-point game, 2 shots here. Let's see what Legentis can do. Rafferty puts it back, and O'Brien puts back his tie ball game.
A fantastic play that time by O'Brien, who just got his hand up there and tipped it in.
Rogers left side, no good. Sonics, ball on the floor, pick it up. And McFarland is called for the travel.
And either way, the referee had 2 different calls that could have gone against McFarland that time. He was out of control and plowed right through Philippe, who had his feet planted. It could have been an offensive foul as well, but the ref opted for the traveling call, and a tie ball game here.
We approach the final minute. Tie game, 40 apiece. Jimmy Cherry, well short, partially deflected by Lopes Rafferty. Out of bounds, remains Kings ball.
And right now, with under a minute to play, the Kings have to give the ball to their playmakers. We'll see if Suda gets an open look at the basket.
Kings get a timeout as their main man gets swarmed. 45 seconds to go.
So now the Kings will have a chance to draw up a play right here and see if they can go up by 2. And the Sonics playing swarming defense, trapping every Kings player that catches the ball. Great hustle from that Sonics team.
Very good job, I should say, by the Sonics in playing a full game with their short bench.
And with just over 30 seconds to play, I mean, the Kings could realistically hold for the final shot. No shot clock here in the MNBL. We'll see if they have the patience to hold and take that final shot and try to end it with one fine stroke. And it's of paramount importance right now that the Sonics do not foul. The Sonics over the foul limit, so a foul would send the Kings to the line with a chance to take the lead in that fashion.
Rogers to the basket, gives his team the lead. Less than 30 seconds to play. Halloran, pull-up jumper's good. Ties it right back up. We'll get another timeout. 42-42, just around 20 seconds to play.
And Halloran responded with a dagger that time. And coming down the floor, you knew he was going to take that shot. Halloran's the playmaker. He's the guy that Sonics want to have the ball. He just rose up and knocked it down.
The crowd is alive. Less than 20 to play. Philippe at the top of the key. Inside look to Rogers. It's good. Sonics can either tie it or take the lead. Halloran misses, and the Kings win. Kings win. 44-42. The Kings have beaten the Sonics and will advance to the championship game tomorrow.
And it couldn't have happened any differently, as Rogers comes up with 2 huge baskets down the stretch for the Kings. And Halloran, with a chance to win the ball game with the 3, was just off the mark. And a perfect ending to this ball game. And a perfect end to a beautiful effort by a Kings team that will deservedly advance to that championship game tomorrow here at the Ferryway School.
Final score, Kings 44, Sonics 42. Well, Elias, the Sonics had a 2-point lead at halftime. They ended up losing by 2. The Kings were able to come back, step up their pace, and play strong all the entire second half.
Well, we really couldn't have asked for a better finish to this ball game. And an outrageous second half. The Kings came out with a different game plan. They picked up full court pressure. The Sonics weren't able to respond, and the Kings got out to a 9-point advantage in that third quarter. But the Sonics were resilient. They hung in there. They got the ball to their playmakers. Halloran did step up. He had a lot of open jumpers in that second half, but just too much. The Kings were too much. A big team, and Rogers really stepped up for them. A couple of huge baskets in that final minute for Rogers.
And good season by the Sonics. I mean, they were a consistent team. They were able to play great offense, great defense, distribute. They didn't have a big bench today, and that was unfortunate for them. But overall, great season by the Sonics, and congratulations to them.
A real good job by the Sonics, playing with a short bench today, a 7-man rotation. And this is a team that has a lot of potential. They play like a team. They know how to run that half-court game. I mean, they're not a transition team. They have to face that fact. They don't want to try to run with some of the better teams in the league. But the Sonics a good team, and I'm sure they'll come back next year and really vie for another playoff spot.
Kings win Game 1 of the 2007 MNBL playoffs. They'll face the winner of the Celtics-Sixers. For Jim Foley, for Elias Feldman, I'm Jim Foley. Final score, 44-42.
Of course, our cameraman,
and Nestor Dudley behind the camera. All right, see you next time.